Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Albert Einstein. That quote by Albert Einstein is probably one of the greatest quotes I have ever personally heard, and it's entirely true. Think of long-term investors as the ones who understand compound interest. People who buy into and hold their positions until retirement. They never lose. The people who do not understand it are your day traders or your Wall Street bet boys. They can make money, but they're not as likely to as a long-term investor. So for any of you out there who don't know what compound interest is, I'll give you a brief explanation. Say you have $1,000 invested into the S&P 500. Now let's assume you never invest another dollar and you get a 10% return every year. After year 1, you would have $1,100. Year 2, $1,210. Year 3, $1,331. Year 4, $1,456. Year 5, $1,610. Now as you can see, your money is growing a little bit more each year. The first 5 years, it just doesn't really seem like it's doing much. Now let's skip to year 10. Your $1,000 would now be worth $2,593. Pretty good, right? You more than doubled your money. Now how about year 20? $6,727. It's now starting to look pretty good. After 30 years, $17,449. Now it's starting to really heat up. And finally, after 40 years, you'd have $45,259. And that is what compound interest does. It might have took 40 years for your $1,000 you first invested to turn into $45,000. Now imagine what $10,000 would do, or $100,000, or $1 million. The more you start with and the more you invest throughout the years will only yield greater and greater results. People have been using compound interest to get rich for years. Now, you'll hear some people say that you need to have a lot of money in order to make a lot of money. But with compound interest, that's not really true. Like the example I just gave, you can start with only $1,000 and still end up with $45,000 by the time you retire. A goal for a lot of people is to get to $100,000 invested. That would be $4.5 million after 40 to 45 years in the market. Now that is real wealth. You would be a multi-millionaire just from compound interest, not by day trading or by buying meme coins. That is why getting to $100,000 invested can genuinely change your life or your family's lives. It is such a big goal for so many people, myself included. It may sound intimidating, but I'm here to say that it's very possible. About 5 years ago, I made a decision to get to $100,000 invested. I'm currently 24 and I'm almost there. Between my 401k, my Roth, and my taxable, I'm at $95,000. It was genuinely tough and it took a lot of sacrifice. But I'm still a young guy, and no one really expects me to own a nice car or a nice house. So appearing poor to other people is just no big deal. I just appear to be like any other 20-something-year-old guy. A lot of people in their 20s don't understand compound interest in investing. Once a lot of people graduate high school or college and they go out and they get a good paying full-time job, they immediately buy a nice car or truck to try and impress people and show off how much money they're making. But they're actually just poor. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Don't follow what other people are doing if they don't have the things you want in life. Would you listen to a nurse on how to fix your car? Probably not. So don't follow what the rest of your peers are doing. Do what you need to do in order to provide a better life for yourself and your family. That is sacrificing your money now to have millions when you're older. Every dollar invested when you're 20 years old has the potential to grow to be $40 or $45 by the time you're 60. This is your golden opportunity, and don't let it slip away. Something I'm sure you have heard thrown around on the internet is that Gen Z and millennials are poor because of our avocado toast and our Starbucks coffees. Now, obviously that's not entirely true, but it's also not entirely false either. Many of us have at least one bad habit. Maybe that is getting a coffee every day, or maybe it's smoking or drinking on the weekends, even ordering DoorDash too much. All of these bad habits start to add up, and pretty soon you're spending $100 a week on stuff that you genuinely could just cut out of your life and still be just as happy. Me personally, something I recently cut out was buying food from the break room at work. I work 12-hour shifts and I always bring a lunch, but sometimes that just wasn't enough, so I'd go buy a $4 hamburger from the break room. Instead, I've been buying some cheaper snacks to keep in my toolbox for when I get hungry. But buying food from the break room multiple times a week can really add up. It got to a point where I was spending at least $20 in there each week, but now that I've cut that out, I can keep that extra $20 in my pocket to save or invest. I'm already starting to see compound interest working for me. When the market moves up 1%, my portfolio goes up almost $1,000. That's such an exciting feeling. It feels like the sacrifices I made for the past 4 years to get here are really starting to pay off. But I'm not letting off the gas. I'm still investing as much as I have been. I'm still young and still have another 35 to 40 years before retirement. Plenty of time for compound interest to make me some real wealth. And that's what I'm trying to tell all of you. Compound interest can work in anyone's favor, even at any age. But the younger you are, the harder it'll work for you. That's why investing young is so important. Even if it's only $5 or $10 here or there, it'll add up. That's what I did when I was still a teenager. I didn't have a full-time job, so I didn't have much money, but I could still afford $5 here, $10 there. And I know by the time I'm 60, I'll be so glad that I did that. One of my few regrets in life is actually not working more as a teenager, so I could invest more. Now obviously there's more to life than money, and if I was working full-time as a teenager, I wouldn't have made a lot of great memories. But having some extra money invested definitely would have been nice. Now, even with all the praise that I'm giving to compound interest, it can still be used against you, mainly in the form of credit card debt. Most of you watching probably have a credit card, and using your credit card to purchase things you were already going to buy in the first place, like gas for your car or groceries, can be a nice way to save 1 or 2% with cash back. But if you're one of the people who sees your $5,000 line of credit and thinks, oh wow, now I have $5,000 to spend, you're part of the problem. Compound interest is being used against you. If you carry a balance from month to month, you're paying extra for things you bought, which you probably didn't even need to buy in the first place. Most credit cards have an interest rate of 20%, and some are even higher. If you are in credit card debt, you need to get out of it ASAP. It literally destroys people's lives and can ultimately lead you to bankruptcy. You need to make a plan on how to get it paid off. Maybe you have to pick up a second job or some extra shifts, but please do whatever you can to get out of credit card debt and stay out. It's financially one of the worst things you can possibly do to yourself. If you have made it this far into the video, I want to thank you. As you have heard, compound interest can make or break you. You can invest early and become wealthy, or go into a pile of debt that you can't get yourself out of. As Einstein said, you either earn it or you pay it. I'll let you decide what side of compound interest you want to be on, but I think there's a pretty clear answer.